What's up, everybody? It's your girl Tayomi here, and I'm super excited because I'm about to have a conversation with this amazing woman that I recently discovered when I moved down to Atlanta. So this is a backstory, right? A friend of mine had recently went to an event that he was a part of, and he came back with his card. And let me tell y'all something. I know we live in a digital world, but business cards are still king. I don't care what anybody says. So he brought out this card and he was like, sis, this woman was at this event that I was performing at, and you should check her out. And he handed me the card. The first thing I noticed, it was thick. The card was thick. And I was like, ooh, I like this card stock. And then like the surface of it was embossed. I was like, ooh, they spent some money on this card. And it had some gold leaf on it. I was like, oh, it's giving luxury. And then when I actually read the card, I was like, oh, wait, this is a condom brand? So I'm speaking with I am speaking with Loyal from Indulgere. And before we start to have our conversation, I just want her to introduce herself and let her know who y'all are, because we're going to get into all the things that she does and why you need to be connected with this sister, because she's doing some dope things in the space of sexual health. So, Loyal, let us know.
Thank you. Thank you, Ty. So, yes, I'm actually from Atlanta, but I live in Nashville now. Yes, Atlanta is always home, always, always. Clayco for me. But anywho's, yeah, so I'm in Nashville. I am a Black-owned, woman-owned only condom company, and our focus really is women, empowering women, inspiring that confidence, reinforcing just taking control of your sexual health, and really trying to crush these male oriented created stigmas that are still out here in 2024.
So, this space, as far as the male or external condom industry, like you said, is very dominated by men. And this is my first time ever seeing a woman come out and say, I have my own condom brand, not just like, piggybacking off of a condom brand like One Condoms or Trojan Condoms and like slapping your face or your name on it. But you have actually stepped into the game by doing the research and coming out with your own brand. So, like, what inspired you to enter into this industry, and how long have you been on this journey? Because I know it wasn't overnight.
It wasn't, but it's still fairly new. So established in 2022, but launched in 2023. So the backstory is I had a girlfriend, like one of my best friends, she was at my wedding, was recently single. So, we're catching up, kikiing, I'm getting all the deets, and she kind of skips over a little bit, and I'm like, did y'all use protection? She was a little quiet, and she said, no, he didn't have anything. And I was like, where were yours?
Right.
And I guess that she had been in a relationship for so long, she just had not even thought to go out and purchase. I don't know, but I didn't feel good about that. So I went to send her a care package because I love all my girls.
I love that.
And when I was looking, I'm like, well, we need some variety. But all I kept seeing was like hot and cooling and studded and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well that's fine. But what about these sizes though? And I just kept looking and looking and decided to go to like the bigger name brands websites. And that's where I could find those multi-size packs, but they are still, even in their description on the website, marketed towards men, figuring out their preferred fit, their correct size. It just, they leave women out of the equation completely.
Yeah.
So that's where it started, out of my love for my girlfriends. Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? Because like I started having sex with partners, primarily male partners, at 19. And I noticed like how quickly a guy will go into sex without even saying, let's wrap it up. It's refreshing to me when a guy is like, I got it, right? But
Yeah.
I remember in my early 20s, I just started carrying my own condoms. And like, we're like 15 years from that now. And there's still this stigma around women carrying their own protection. And I know I travel a lot and I've been in a TSA line where like I'll be going through my purse and be like, oops, and condoms just spill out. And I just be like, I don't care,
Yeah.
but I will say, and there are certain places that you travel in this world, like let's say Dubai or like the Middle East, where if you are carrying a number of condoms, they might think that you're working.
Yes.
So I think that that's interesting that that stigma even exists. But why is it important to empower women to carry their own protection?
We like nobody is going to love us like ourselves. Like that's where love starts. So, we're in this era of my soft girl era and this and oh, self-care and but self-love in this sexual form is a part of self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like I want to reinforce that. It almost feels like maybe our generation was more so fed that because I guess, HIV in the early 90s was just everywhere on TV. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge TLC fan, Left
Oh,
Eye with Her Condom, Salt and Pepper, all, talking
yes.
about sex positivity. And it feels like the generations after us, it quieted down and that's not what's being pushed. And it's really, really disturbing and unfortunate. And I feel like there's like a lack of confidence that is tied to that.
Mm,
I'm saying that like because you said the stigma, and stigma is from the outside.
right.
But my therapist said something recently, and yes, I'm in therapy. We all need some
We
therapy from
advocate for
time to
therapy.
time. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. But she said, stop outsourcing your self-worth. Says,
Ooh.
you better.
She came for the jugular.
I said, I have never looked at it like, I mean, clearly, we all have that thought in mind, love yourself, whatever, but outsourcing is asking somebody else to do the work.
Right.
Nah, 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 nah. So it's along those lines. It's got to start here. And I don't know what to happen between our parents' generation, our generation, and this next generation. But yeah, it's not where it needs to be. It's not. And I think there needs to be more conversation, especially amongst the Black community, because our resources and our connections to even education are
Mhm.
just not even on the same level that it should be in other areas and communities.
You know what's interesting to me is like when you go online, like you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, these memes go viral all day, every day that center around sex, right? And a lot of times they're pushing these stereotypes and they continue to further deepen the stigmas. And they also push harmful narratives that are
Mm-hmm.
rooted in toxicity and ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, a condom conversation, it's silent. Like I will say, there was this one post I put up on Twitter that kind of went off at one point, and I made a little grid photo of four different types of condoms. It was skin condoms, a Trojan, and two other brands. Oh, B condoms, and it was another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Which one y'all rocking with?" And literally everybody who uses condoms was like skin condoms because they are non-latex and the technology that they use to create the material,
Mm-hmm.
it basically like when it warms up, it seeps into the skin and it feels like nothing is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you got the people who are literally leaning on the I'm allergic to latex. And I'm like, let me tell you something. From what I know, Those who are truly allergic to latex are also going to have an allergy to bananas and avocado. So if you out there on Taco Tuesday eating guacamole, oh no, I really think you capping on that. But
Taco Tuesday.
what we do know is that people do have a sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not even the rubber itself, it's the lubricant.
Talk about it. Talk
The
about it.
lubricant, because let me tell you something, okay? Like, so in even the same brand, like let's just go with Trojan, right? Because Trojan is the most advertised in America.
Yeah.
And I say it like that because you leave America, you're not going to see Trojan. You're going to see Durex and Life mostly outside of America. But in America, Trojan is the number one trusted brand. That's their slogan, right? But even across the spectrum of Trojan products, and trust me, I've used everything but them lambskin ones.
Right.
Yeah. The lubricant's not the same on all their condoms. It's not a standard lube. And Magnum is the worst. And Magnum is often marketed towards the Black community because they're larger size condoms.
And that's a problem.
It's a huge problem. And so I really don't like that people, when it comes to the safer sex conversation, using condoms, getting tested, people literally get quiet. And this is the conversation that I feel like we have to like package it up a certain way. Like it has to be on the back of humor in order for people to like really resonate with it. So it has to have like relatability, humor, but still have the facts in it. Because otherwise people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's the boring part of sex. And it's like, but this is the part that literally helps you to have sex better because your mind is not thinking about in the back of your head, oh, what if I catch something?
Yes.
What if I get pregnant?
It breaks? What if,
What
if it slips off because you really don't fit a Magnum? Like,
oh, listen.
Yeah, so, it's a problem.
People sometimes like to tote the whole idea of like condoms are not 100% effective. Well, the research shows that they are 98% effective if used correctly and consistently. And what do we mean by that? We mean using it for the full duration of the sexual experience. If you try to, well, somebody call it, what do they call it? I forgot. This guy has, it's when they take the dick, right? And they basically smear it on the vulva, right? They rub it, and then they want to put the condom on because I just want to feel it real quick. Well, you do know that you've already exposed yourself to something when you do that. You got to put the condom on first before you try to paint. You know, like don't do that. And so, speaking of size, right? What I love about your brand is that you've based it off of chess. And as a chess player, okay, people don't know that I'm a chess player, but I've been playing since I was a kid. As a chess player, my inner nerd was like, but I also loved it because you describe your customers as queens. And then you got your bishops and your rooks for your sizing. And so I wanted to know, like, why did you choose to come up with this theme? Because in a way I was like, ooh, I see it. It's like you got to play chess with life and not checkers. But I just want to know from your perspective why you came up with it, because I think it's brilliant.
That's exactly. So, okay, let's run it all the way back. So when I'm thinking of names, that was like one of the first things that I'm trying to come up with, right? And I landed on Her Choice. And I was thinking for women with options. But then when I'm just running this by some of my circle, I see that there can be like just a lot of hoopla and people trying to possibly tie it to politics. And I'm just like, no, that's not what we're doing. So, but in doing that, I'm, looking at things and icons, and I just keep seeing the queen chess piece, and I just love it. She's so beautiful. And I said, okay, so that's definitely about to be the logo. So when I have to think about the name, I'm thinking, okay, what are some synonyms for pleasure, freedom of choice, and I came like indulge popped up, and I've always
Mm.
liked maybe Latin and Greek root words and things like that. So I go look that up, and it's indulgere. So I said, "Oh,
Oh.
that sounds real. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like a little lingerie
Right,
that you
right.
indulge."
But this is an actual word in French though for indulge.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
love see the French language is just so romantic.
It
The fact
is.
that it just sounds like lingerie. So I was like, oh, lingerie for the dick. Okay, this is great. And I
So when I'm landing on the queen, I'm like, okay, so we know, don't come for me because I don't really know how to play chess. I really don't. I've been taught, and then too much time goes by and I forget. But I do know that the queen is the most powerful piece on board in the game.
mm-hmm.
She can move whatever direction she wants. Like she basically calls a shot. She has the power. And I'm like, that's us.
Yes.
That's how we need to think about ourselves, what we need to know about ourselves. So that's where, the queen came in, and I'm like, well, let's make it fun. So I didn't want to go and name the burgundy package the pawn. I didn't want to go all the way back
Oh, baby,
old
no.
food. I didn't want to do them like that. So I liked those two names, and I said, now of course the bishop, it's a little base, the bishop. So
Mm-hmm.
here, and I have me a beautiful glass. It's just, yeah, like the game, the visuals were just, everything seemed to just fit. I loved it. And yeah, that's what it is. Like it's chess, not checkers.
What's interesting is that the rook and the bishop, I would say, are the next two most powerful pieces because of how they move. So um the rook can move, I think it's like vertical and horizontal. No, horizontal, like in L shapes, right? But
Mhm.
it can move literally all the way across the board. And then the bishop is the one that can move in diagonal, but only on the colored square that it's on. So they can literally move across the board, kind of like the queen, but not as powerful as the queen because she
Mhm.
can move in any direction. But I love the fact that you named this brand Indulgere after the French word for indulgence, because when we are entering into sex, we are indulging our senses, we're
Mhm.
indulging our pleasure, and we're doing it unapologetically. And the queen
Mhm.
is unapologetic when she moves across the board.
Ain't she though?
And having the power of choice, right? Knowing that you get to bring out your condoms and be like, this is what we're doing.
Mhm.
And this is the size we're using.
Mhm.
And I love that in your packages, you have a little bag with the
Yes.
test piece on the front. It's a cute little silk bag, y'all. It's a drawstring bag. And I love it because your condoms can be kept discreetly. Unlike me, who would be raw dogging it out here with the condoms just falling
All
out
in the first.
on the conveyor belt. I'd be at the counter buying something, pull out my wallet, it'd be two condoms. I'm like, oops. But at least you know I'm active in protecting myself.
Right.
But
Right.
everybody isn't able to like shake that off the way that I am because it could be embarrassing for some folks. And so um I will say outside of the name and the pieces that you chosen to represent, it's the packaging for me. Like
Mhm.
these colors are so sexy and sultry. So I'm wondering, like, why did you choose the burgundy and navy blue colors for the packaging?
So I wanted something that, and thank you, because you are one of the first people to understand that it is burgundy,
It's
not
my favorite color.
purple.
It's my favorite color. So I'm never gonna get that wrong. Like purple
Yes.
is deeper in blue.
Yes,
Burgundy is deeper
yes,
in red.
yes, yes. So I wanted to combine femininity and strength.
Mm,
And like those two really did it for me. I feel like they
yes.
go well together, and they like, okay, understand that yes, this is all feminine energy over here, but don't get it twisted, because there is strength in this feminine energy as well. So yeah, that's where that was. I needed that balance. And then of course, there are, just a couple of other brand colors mixed in there, but those two, I feel like they complemented each other very well, and they captured
Mhm.
just what I was trying to the energy I was trying to give.
Yeah, they do. They do give off powerful because, like, when I think about that navy blue, it reminds me of the classic like blue suit. So, like, any woman that's in business at some point in time, if she's working corporate, has had to have that suit.
I love
Like,
a blue suit.
I've seen my mom had that. I had a suit like that for my eighth grade pictures. So
So
I
cute.
understand. And branding is a huge part of like getting your brand out there, like having colors and symbols and names that are recognizable, because eventually people will just tie it right to,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is protection. And I love the fact that you're focusing on marketing to women, because like even though these are male or external condoms made to use on penises, women do need to feel empowered to make their own choices, because I cannot tell you how many times my coochie literally just went closed up and was like, we're not doing this when a magnum comes out, because I know the after effect of it, the burning, the itching, the crazy smell, and then
Mm-hmm.
potentially the thrown off pH, and then having to go get treated by my doctor for a yeast infection or potentially BV because
Right.
condom is trash. And that's something that we don't talk enough about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes to like sex without barriers, right? There's always that argument of, oh, this person could throw your pH off. But products can throw your pH off too. So
Absolutely.
while you are protecting yourself and you're doing the right thing by wearing condoms, it's like, yes, we applaud that. And you have to treat your vagina the same way you would treat your face. Now, if you don't really treat your face that well, I'm gonna need you just to do better overall, friend, with your self-care, because like you see my skin glowing. Why? Not only
Always.
on highlight, but because I do facials like practically every day, so and just also think about like what you would put on your lips, you know, and a lot of the products that we do use generally on our lips do have some things in it that we really shouldn't be putting in our bodies, but I digress. The vagina is the place where you want to be extra particular about what you allow to go inside of you, because it's a mucous
Mm-hmm.
membrane, direct portal into your bloodstream. And you could think of your vagina kind of like a thermostat in a way. Like, because if your vagina is thrown off,
Mm-hmm.
your mood's gonna be thrown off, your entire body's gonna be thrown off. You can tell like your menstrual cycle is literally a telltale sign of your health. So your
Mm-hmm.
vagina is very important. You don't want to just choose any old condoms just because they're there. You want to make some conscious decisions on the type of condom that you're using based on your body chemistry. If you know
Mm-hmm.
you have a sensitive vagina, y'all, like you need to be custom ordering your condoms. And what I love too is the fact that you ship discreetly, direct from your hands to consumer. So
Yes.
if some of y'all still have that feeling of like walk of shame going to the store and buying condoms, I get it. Especially like certain CVS's and Walgreens or whatever, they be hiding, they lock them up,
They do.
right? And then you literally got to ring the bell. I mean, look, that whole process, not gonna lie, I'm a confident person, but it's still like,
It's a
dang,
lot.
why you gotta be out of my business? And it's over the loudspeaker. Customer needs assistance in the family planning aisle. And they be like, what you want? These condoms? Like, hold on.
They do. They put you out on blast.
Out there. So
But
you don't
we,
have to
yes.
do that because she'll
No, we
ship directly.
definitely ship. and it's free shipping anywhere in the United States. We make sure that it's discreet. We don't have any of like our branding on the outside of the box, anything like that. I mean, of course, I think it would be cute to have some tape and stuff, but I do understand having to respect people's privacy. But back to what you were saying about the chemistry, the body chemistry and things like that. That is a huge, huge, huge topic that I had to research for this because I don't have a background in business. I'm not a sex therapist. Like I'm not Tayomi Jr. I am just I have had a federal government job for 17 years, and like this came to me, and I was inspired and just felt really passionate. And all the things, the information that I was finding, like it was exciting to me. And so, like you said, it may not be the condom, it may be the lube.
Yep.
One thing about a lot of people are like, your condoms don't have that nasty smell. And I said, well, this is again something I had to learn. But they use this milk protein called casein to soften and thin the condom in a lot of products. And it has that sour, funky smell, and more times than not, that is that smell. But also people who have like animal allergies, milk allergies, they don't realize that, right? They don't realize that that's in that condom, and that is the sensitivity that's being disrupted. So there's no casein. They're still very thin. There's no smell, no taste. And our lube only has 2 ingredients. There's no water, no oils. It's high quality lubricant. And since I'm not in the medical field, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think it's dimethicone and dimethicanol. Those are the only 2 ingredients in the lubricant. And they actually chemically, the way they're, I need to tap into Doogie Howser right now because I don't. But the way that their chemical structure is, they cannot even interact to throw off pH balance.
Oh, I love that.
That's just not an issue. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen, because so many women do think that they are allergic to latex, and that's not really the case.
And this is a conversation we have to have more. And I'm already thinking of a reel that I can do to like put women on. Be like, newsflash, did you know you might not actually be allergic to latex? Yes. It's this chemical right here. And this is why you should be using Indulgere. Right? No, because this really came to me because I will say, like, water-based lube, that's something that we always recommend because we're like, the body is like 70% water and, it's good for mucous membrane. But the thing I don't like about water-based lube is how fast it evaporates. Yep. I actually prefer silicone-based lube. I think that silicone-based lube on condoms will work so much better because over time, like the water-based lubricant on condoms, it dries up quick. And then the condom ends up getting dry. And then there's friction. I don't care how much of a whop you have.
Yeah, no.
With repeated strokes at a certain velocity, okay, that whop is going to dry up. And this is why, like, having extra lube helps. But I just think silicone coating condoms would be so much better because it lasts longer and it's silkier.
Yes.
Right? But you really like, my mind is like, oh my God, around this casein because I am lactose intolerant, like bad.
Yes.
And like to the point where I get inflamed internally and I still be eating cheese. I still be fucking myself up. I mean, I'm
Girl,
really trying to
sometimes it be
like,
worth it. I'm with you. I'm
I'm
with you.
trying, friend. I'm really trying to like pull myself out of it. But the idea of a dairy byproduct
Uh-huh.
going into the vagina is like scary because we know that that can lead to yeast infections quite easily. And that is why so many people, especially Black women, because we know that Black people have lactose intolerance at high rates. And I don't even know what it is about our genetic makeup that so many of us are intolerant to lactose. But the fact that like so many Black women complain about magnums. And I know they got that ingredient in their condoms because it smells like a
They
rubber band.
stank, right?
It
Okay, let's just say what
stank,
it is.
like hey. And so
Right, and that don't really help with the mood, like, mm-mm.
at all, especially like I mean, it's like as soon as it comes out, like, you gonna put that on you?
Yeah, yeah. And think about adult onset allergies. So
Right.
maybe you weren't allergic to a certain condom before.
Yep.
If something is starting to go on and you're like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what the problem is, like, look into that because that could very well, I mean, our bodies are so just complicated and we have to be in tune. Yeah.
So, what would you say sets Indulgere apart from the multitude of condoms that are already on the market, aside from the fact that it's Black owned, female owned, and marketed towards women?
I would say like there's a twofold with the brand being so heavily into creating a community of
Mm,
women that's confidence is sky high, and just being a brand that wants to educate along with encourage sexual pleasure. You know, pleasure, adulting is hard, bruh.
it is.
It's, we need an outlet. And I am just really learning myself how sex is a form of therapy. Um, you know, not just expression of, oh, how you may feel about someone. Like, listen, when I have started following you and just listening to people in the sexual health um, industries, there is so much more to sex
Mm-hmm.
and the benefits and the pros. And it is amazing as long as you have it safely. Like, safe sex can still very much so be good, amazing sex.
Yes.
I like the whole condom. Oh, I don't want to wear it. I can't feel this, that. There's so many, like you said, there's skin, there's so many brands that it feels like nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't really have to worry about, oh, this this thing is like so thick, I can't feel anything. Somebody stealthing you,
Oh,
just, like, because that's a big issue. I
it's a
just,
huge issue. Huge.
this consent and safety, carrying your own protection, there are so many things that you don't have to worry about when
Right.
you are providing for yourself, when you're advocating for yourself. You don't have to worry about where that condom's been, because like you said, your condoms just be falling out your purse, and we so glad that you have them. But the men that will carry maybe the pocket wallets and keep their
Yes.
condoms in those wallets, they sit on them, they experience all this friction that weakens them, may create a tear in the condom. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you get your condom out and it's still in the wrapper, you have to make sure, you know, it still has that bubble there so that, you know, nothing has been punctured, anything like that. When you carry your own, like you said, those things are not in the back of your mind. Your mind
Exactly.
is free and open to receive the pleasure that's it, so you can indulge in what's right in front of you.
Exactly. And when you bring your own condoms to the party, you bring your own toys to the party, you bring your own lube to the party, you bring your own wipes, you bring your own mouthwash, your hair tie, like you get your little kit. You know, when you bring that, then you know you can have a good time. Because I'll tell you, it's nothing worse than not anticipating the dick appointment and then showing up with nothing.
Mm.
And then they're using saliva. Like when I tell you, I get so uncomfortable because I know my body and I know my vulva, and I know that it's one thing to go down. It's another thing to like gather up saliva and just drop it down. And it just the amount of bacteria that is carried in
Yeah.
that, especially if you don't rinse your mouth before or
Yeah.
brush your tongue. Like, I hate showing up to the appointment and I don't have my stuff because then I know I'm uncomfortable. And then the products that they have, because sometimes, you know, guys will have their condoms there, they'll have their lubricant there, but it might be KY jelly or some off brand stuff that just does not agree with my
Just cheap.
body.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cheap. That's the thing. You know, it's so interesting how like we're living in this era now where everybody wants like designer bags, designer shoes, designer jewelry, but y'all don't want designer poussey. Like if you say you got $1 million pussy, you should be treating it that way. You should be carrying products that
Right.
literally uplift and elevate the most sacred part of yourself in that way. So don't leave it up to chance. And like the soft girl era, I love that for us. And some of these women are using it as an excuse to not think. Listen,
Literally.
do not do that. Do not leave your sexual health up to your partner's decision because you don't know how they take care of themselves. Even if you live with that person, like you really don't know what products, unless you like scoping out his products in the shower, what products he's using to wash himself, what products he prefers when it comes to condoms, when it comes to lubricant. Like, and unfortunately, it's like trial and error because you don't know if something doesn't work for you until you use it and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. It's like if you do your research and you learn what chemicals don't react well with your body, then you can find the products that don't have that. I love the fact that the lube on your condoms only has 2 ingredients because when you look at lubricants on the market, you be like, what's all this? I can't pronounce any of these words. And
Right.
most of them are like preservatives. And it's just like lab made stuff just to keep the viscosity of
Mm-hmm.
the lubricant in the bottle and sitting on the shelf for a long time because we know that these shelves get stocked with all this stuff, right? But sometimes it might not be bought for months. So they got to put all these preservatives in this lubricant so that way it stays. Because all this stuff has an expiration date, y'all. Like lubricant has an expiration date. Condoms have
Let's
an
talk about these
expiration date.
expiration dates. Yes.
Okay. And so you can't have a bottle of lube sitting around for 4 years and think that it's gonna work 4 years. Look, you gotta update your kit, okay? So I'm wondering, is Indulgere gonna make a bigger bag so that way we could put the lube in the bag along with the condoms? And maybe I'm thinking, right? Because B condoms has this Indulgere can have extra lubricant packs
Mm-hmm.
that can
Mm-hmm.
go inside the bag with the condoms. Because I'm like,
Yes. I am
I'm
definitely
loving
looking into lube.
the
Yep.
the
Mhm.
2 ingredient lubricant. I'm loving that. Like,
Yes, I am definitely, that will absolutely be coming out. And something else that's on our mind and we're working on is non-latex.
Yes. Yes.
It is taking a minute to find a company whose values and all of the things that we're looking for, excuse me, line up. Because again, I am a small business, and some of them, like I was just talking to one last week, and they said, okay, well, this company, like everything seems to line up except for they only offer one size. So I'm like, that's not what my brand, what differentiates my brand. And I don't want to leave like any part of this population out. And I also don't want to like just skimp to be able to work with or get condoms from a manufacturer that, okay, does have two sizes, but they're not vegan friendly. I don't agree with like the ingredients that are in there. So right now it's just trying to find that perfect company. In order to create a second size with the one company I like, they need a minimum order of 2 million.
Oh,
Someday, but not today.
we are going to put it in the air that Indulgere will reach that level because I love the concept. So I'm wondering, like on the latex side, if you were to expand to, because you got the large size, if you were to expand to an extra large size, what would the name of that one be?
Ooh. So there's a large and then there's extra large, and that extra large is very fitting. I would have to think on that.
I'm thinking it's just proper to say king size, like, because like
okay.
I'm just saying, and I'm thinking like just with the color palette that you already have, if it's like, like the golden color that's on the front of your car, like if it's that, or even just like a little sexy silky black, with the gold
I
letter
do like the black.
outside.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm just saying, because like there's some cane dangalangs out there.
There
Like
are some monsters, yes.
super thick. And that's the thing, like that I've noticed about men who are girthier, right? Because like large size condoms, it's the body of the condom that's like longer. So you can get more in there, right? But it's the base of the condom, the ring,
Yes.
that keeps it on. That's always the part
to be cutting
that,
off that circulation, Lord.
listen, it's a real thing, and then they lose their erection because they're just like, this is too tight. And so that's for the girthy ones. You know what I mean? So I just think
Now,
like,
I recently just had a client the other week who was able to, they were testing it out, and they had a whole 20-ounce water bottle in that thing that was just chilling for days.
but see, that's the thing. A water bottle cannot give you the feedback on how it feels. Like if you had a person with
Right.
penis, because see, and that's the thing, right? I see all these tests all the time, right? Where they're like, "Ooh, a foot can fit in this condom, so there's no excuse for you," right?
Right.
But we don't take into account the fact that the ring around the bottom not only can pull at like the little hairs that may
Hair,
be there,
yes, yes.
which feels very uncomfortable, but the skin, as you get closer to the scrotum, gets a little thinner. So the way that it pulls, like, could feel uncomfortable. So like we do these tests to show the elasticity of the condom, which it has an enormous capacity. But the only issue is that we're not testing that out on girthier,
Yeah,
right? For
that
the
functionality.
functionality, because they are the ones that's going to tell us like whether it's too tight or if it's just right. And so I think that more condom manufacturers should be mindful of that. Like the guys that are long and they have like average size girth, every like large size condom pretty much fits them well. But when you got them like 4-inch thick, ooh, baby. the four, ew, the 4-inch thick ones, you'd be like, oh Lord. But I think if anything, it's companies go off of what the averages are, because on average we have more like 5.5, 6, 7 inches.
Mhm.
We do them long, thick thongs. Like
Right. They're the outliers. They're not in
exactly.
the yes.
They're probably it's probably like 5% of the world.
Hmm. That
If
is
that.
a good, I'm glad that you brought it up because I'm definitely, that is something that I will keep in mind when moving to include, because people have even asked about the smaller sizes.
Yes, okay. So let's talk about that real quick, right? And I'm already thinking chess pieces. And friend, you ain't got too many pieces left. So
I know.
listen, no shade, but they gonna have to be the pawn.
They're
Like
gonna have to be. They
they gonna
really
have to be the
are.
pawn, and not because we're calling. And that's the thing, people underestimate the power of the pawn because
Girl.
baby, the pawn can fuck you up if you use it right. I'm just saying, and
We
it
talk about the game. Are
Yep.
we talk-
A little double entendre. A little double entendre. The pawn is a smaller piece on the board and it has less power as far as how it moves. But if you position it right, it can help you win the game. And it's the same way with them shorter
Yes.
penises. I'm trying to tell
Yes.
y'all. I put out
Yes.
a post one day. People tried to fucking drag me over this. And I was like, you only really need 3 inches of dick, right? Because I'm like, within the first third of the vagina, which is like 2 to 3 inches in, is like a high concentration of nerve endings.
Curves.
The next set is up near the cervix. So it's
Mm-hmm.
either shallow or deep. And people underestimate shallow penetration and what it's able to do. And I had so many women coming at me like, what you talking about? It ain't gonna work for me. I know it work for my body. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, sis, I feel you because I too have what I call like the husband dick, like the size that is just fits like a glove,
Perfect. Yes.
right? And also, I have had the 4-incher with the little curve at the tip that
Mm-hmm.
did its thingity thing. And I'm just going off of the science around the anatomy of the
There you go.
vagina. I'm not
Yes.
talking about what you prefer as far as what's the most pleasurable for you. I'm just saying that even if you got one of them schlong long daddies, they miss the mark of shallow penetration sometimes and just want to go straight to the bottom. It's
Yeah.
like the vagina isn't even opened up yet, and it's not even receded back towards the cervix yet. And you just want to try to go straight to the bottom. Like, no, hit
Mm-hmm.
that first 2.5 to 3 inches because you got the G area right there. You got the
Yeah. It's the
clitoris.
underside of the clit. Yeah,
You got
absolutely.
everything right there. And the clitoral bulbs sit
Mm-hmm.
right on internally. It sits right around the opening of the vagina. So you're stimulating the internal clitoris with
Mm-hmm.
shallow penetration. I'm like, but y'all don't know this because y'all don't know the clit looks like this.
Right.
And like literally, when you penetrate, literally, this is what you're doing. You're stimulating
Mm-hmm.
all of this right here on the shallow part. So like, don't underestimate. But the small size condoms would be so great because I'm telling you, like, ever since I made that post, I got a whole following of
Oh,
men who are like 4 inches or below.
okay.
And they appreciated me because they were just like, no one talks about us in conversations, no one includes us. But even in traditional marketing
Yeah.
for condoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually centered around like larger size or like big manly men. They don't really
Yeah. And
focus on different sizes of people.
that's mostly because it's a male dominated industry that even the standard they consider a large, because
Mm,
I think it's just about ego.
it is.
So I want to find out if the reason why I have the two sizes is just marketing wise, statistically, looking at the demand and what is purchased more, those are the sizes that are purchased more. And unfortunately, the snug is just not purchased as often, even though it may need to be.
Listen, baby, listen. I just keep replaying this one moment in my mind
No.
where I just gave this person a few chances, and every time, the condom would slip off. And I hate the gaslighting. I hate the gaslighting that's supposed to be like a form of a compliment. Like, oh, well, you just got a gripper. Yes, um,
Yes, and yes,
and this don't fit you, friend. Like you need to come down in size, and you need to understand that the condom size does not equate to your performance.
at
Okay.
all, at
Like,
all.
condom size, if you're wearing the wrong size, y'all, your performance is going to be under. Why?
Yes.
Because there is the potential and the threat of the condom coming off, and now you don't have protection. So I love the idea of offering the snugger size, and it'll be a pawn. So in the future, I see you got pawn, bishop, rook, and king for the queens, right? I love that. And what's interesting is that all the pieces serve the purpose of protecting the king. But interestingly enough, the king don't really got that much power. It's the queen. The queen's the most powerful piece. The king doesn't really have as much power. So I'm just saying the queen got to come to the table with everything. This is why you got to have all your options of condoms, all the things that you need to feel your pleasure. But speaking of a queen in a male dominated space, like what are some challenges that you've had to come upon and overcome in order for Indulgere to exist now? That smile told me everything I need to know.
It's been issues every step of the way, baby, but they've also been opportunities to learn. Because you can't know what you don't know. So
Right.
I'm always here to learn. Like initially it started off with legal stuff and finding the right business attorney and things like that. And you, of course, have that little sideways look about your ideas. And then when it comes to having meetings with marketing companies to find a good fit to, create the visuals and put my vision together for my brand, again, if there was a man on the team, there was always this little look like, oh, I don't know. The women always would be like, I like this. And so it wasn't until I found a marketing company that was all women that it felt like a good fit. It felt like they knew how to bring my vision to life. There was no pushback unless it had to do with the experience that they had in their field and just offering me advice. But it's been a lot. And I've gone to some events and found, so I think it was last weekend, maybe the weekend before, I went to a themed dance party. Of course, the majority of the people that were there were women, because I don't know, men just don't be coming out, but whatever. And so I'm like, oh yes, like I love it. And when people would get to my table and they would inquire, what's this? And some of them were very much so in 2024. And they were like, I love this. I'm entering to win this package. Others literally jumped away from the table like they didn't want to be seen near the table. Like, this stigma is so strong. And I will say, when I've gone to maybe parties or live demonstrations, podcast tapings, when it involves a kink community, never, and not a single person. And it's like, okay, society, let's look at this. You want to throw all this dirt and these jabs at people who are choosing to live their life the way they want, and their sexual lives are nobody's business, but y'all always got something to say about it. They're doing things the correct way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't make it make sense.
You know, I've been under fire on the internet. I'm still kind of amazed
I love
at
it.
the fact that this post is still going viral. But even in coming out and telling people, or at least showing people what my solo polyamory life looks like, just all of the projections that people are just throwing onto me. And I'm like, I get tested more frequently than all of y'all.
Put together.
Like, what? And even if we don't get tested together, we're getting tested within like the same week or a week within each other. We're showing our results because this is the reality, right? Condoms will be used and condoms won't always be used. And that's just the power of choice that you have as an adult. Because if you meet somebody and you catch a vibe and they can't show you a recent test, or the test isn't recent enough and it doesn't sit well with you, then having your condoms on deck is the best way to still enter into sex with that person and exercise your power of choice. Because I know there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to let this one go. Like, I don't want to let this one go, but I don't know their status. So it's like, well, we're going to use condoms here. Right. And I like the fact that you say they don't have any taste, because we need to normalize using condoms for oral sex too. Now, I know it's not the most comfortable thing, because it's like, it kind of feels like sucking on a dildo similarly. But if you're trying to provide yourself with full spectrum of protection, then protecting yourself in oral sex is also necessary. I know some of y'all out there do not think that you can't catch anything in your throat, and I don't know why y'all think that.
What? Okay, yeah. No, gonorrhea, be all, yeah, no.
Gonorrhea and chlamydia,
Chlamydia.
oral chlamydia and gonorrhea, the numbers of that is a lot higher than y'all think, and we're not talking about that.
Thank you.
This is a mucous membrane, y'all. If it's pink and fleshy, mucous membrane, okay? And it's literally a portal straight into your bloodstream. And bacteria and viruses can permeate this layer of skin. I don't understand, like,
and are doing so.
and are doing so. This is why when you go get tested, and this is this PSA for testing, right? Get your swabs. Don't just do urine and blood tests. If you have symptoms in the vagina or coming out of the urethra of the penis, you swab. If you participate in analingus, aka ass eating, swab the anus. So, and that's one thing people kind of underestimate. It's like, oh well, I don't have anal sex. I don't have penetrative anal sex, but it's still anal sex if you're getting your ass ate. Swab.
Yes.
Okay.
It is a sexual activity. Yeah. Yeah.
Bro,
I think
swab
it's that.
for oral, y'all.
I love that you are out here providing so much education, and that's, one of the reasons why I reached out. I love the way you're able to word things, the way that you're able to communicate them. Even things that aren't necessarily anyone's business, like you said, your solo poly life. I love learning, and I'm here for the education. And I just wish people would hop on board, because yes, these STI rates, like STI, STD, they try and throw stigma on that too. So turn it to, I like, there are things that are continuing to rise that you cannot get rid of. There are things you cannot see that can affect a woman's ability to have children in the future. Like, people don't think about HPV, that I don't know what the the block is. I'm wondering if it's like a maturation thing, because the conversations that you are even able to have,
Mm-hmm.
so many people are not. Like, what do you mean you can't talk to your partner about their status? Like,
And
why not?
I've been having the conversation since I was in my early 20s when I first started having sex with partners, because I care about my health. I care about my body. I care about my organs. I care about my womb. I care about my vagina. And I like how I feel when I'm healthy and it's in a healthy state. And I think a part of this, like, it boils down to people not really understanding what self-care looks like when it comes to their sexual health. Like on Sundays, it's like self-care Sunday, but
Right.
people not thinking about, oh, like, what's your vagina doing? What's your penis doing? But specifically speaking of women, it's like, are you looking down there regularly? Are you really paying attention to your cycle and how your discharge changes? How the moisture in your vagina changes as you go throughout your cycle? And I know women not doing this, or people who bleed are not doing this, looking at the blood, because like most of the time it's tampons, pads, right? But like when I switched to the cup,
Ooh, that cup. Oh my
look,
God.
look, the cup will tell you everything you need to know about your health.
Yeah.
Because I sit and I look at it, I'm like, okay, all right. And a game changer too for me was free bleeding. Free bleeding and just using underwear.
The panties.
Yeah. Game changer. Like cramps almost non-existent. Like I might get a little bit, but it's like the first day. And depending on how I eat in a month will determine too where my cramps are at. If I'm too much sugar, it's a wrap, right? But these are the kind of things that we're not paying attention to. And everybody wants to jump into the fun of sex. Everybody wants to do it. And I think a part of it too is like this idea that sex is supposed to be spontaneous, right? And some people are still carrying like this guilt around even owning their sexuality. So for them, it's like, well, if I don't plan it, if I don't make the plans in advance, then I can't be held accountable for my actions. This is why some people they like to go out and drink and then blame it on the alcohol, but that's really dangerous too. So it's like, well, what if you were just a conscious sexual, right? A person who literally consciously prepares for anything to go down, especially if you know you're going into an environment where sex has a high potential for happening, a date or a play party. But even if you're not in the lifestyle, if you're going out with somebody that you know you have sexual chemistry with, sexual tension with, and you've already discussed sex and it might potentially happen, be prepared. Think like a queen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's our tagline,
Think like
please.
a queen. A queen is going to care for herself. Okay? Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We got to elevate in how we take care of ourselves. And condoms are not the enemy. But I'm going to tell you what is ignorance. Because like you said, there are things, specifically these STIs. The infections can turn into diseases that can impact your fertility. And you won't even know that until you're ready to go and try to conceive. And then you go and get tested and you're like, I didn't know I had this. How come I didn't know? Well, because you was being a little too soft life. and just and so comfortable in your monogamy that you just left your health up to the responsibility of your partner, and you're gauging your health off of their health, and their health isn't all conclusive just by looking at them. Like,
No.
there's things that you cannot see with the naked eye. And
So many.
STIs don't always present symptoms.
Yes.
So especially
Specifically in men.
in men, yeah, because the urethra is so long.
Mm-hmm.
That is why. And that's the thing, y'all. Men can catch STIs. I do not know why y'all keep spreading this idea that men cannot catch an STI. The reason why you don't see it as prevalent is because of the long urethra. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why. The vagina is always secreting. It's always secreting because it's going through its process of cleaning. So you'll see a discharge or you will smell a smell because the vagina is there. It's not like the vagina got a cap on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The vagina ain't got no cap. It's just
well, you just zip it up. Yeah.
We can't zip it up. So we gonna smell the smells and see the things because that's just what it does.
Yes.
But just because you have a long urethra, penis, people, doesn't mean you can't catch something. How do you think women who are in relationships and sexual relationships with men or penis owning people, how do you think they get these infections? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It's just I'm just like, y'all tell yourselves anything just to feel comfortable with not going to the doctor. Like, it's wild to me.
Right. Like, oh, this is normal. No, it's not normal. And I saw on social media this post, and it was like, what do you think about women who carry their own condoms? And I was expecting, the men to have their say, but I was so surprised at the amount of women that felt the same way as the majority of the guys, like calling her outside her name with this, that, or the other thing. And I'm thinking, why is that? How is this different than a guy carrying a condom? I don't get it.
I'll tell you why. And this is why your campaign and your brand exists, to empower women. The reason why that exists is because it is the idea that men, people with penises, are the holders and controllers of sexual pleasure and sexual experience. Everything is penis centric. This is why the condom industry is dominated by the external condom, but rarely are we talking about internal condoms, which are female condoms to go into the vagina. Like, the average person wouldn't even know how to use it if they had one, because we don't talk about it and they aren't marketed like that. Most of the time you see a female condom at a clinic, but you don't see them on the shelves of stores because they're not being promoted like that. But because sex is penis centric, and because men, and this is the patriarchy's doing, right? Patriarchy has placed men at the helm of sexual pleasure. And so women are like, well, it's his responsibility to bring the condom because he has the penis and he should be the one in charge of that because he's the one in charge of sex and he has to be the initiator and he has to put in most of the work because I ain't getting no top and round of no dick because my knees check out at 30 seconds. Whole other conversation for another day,
Okay, cowgirl. Okay.
But you see what I'm getting at here? It's like they put all the responsibility on the man. And then but what's interesting is when they spread something, if that man spread something to her, now it's her fault. So now you're being gaslit, right? Yeah. After you've given the man all the power. But I'm gonna say this. You being gaslit by this man, and he's like, oh, you must have had it before me. But also, you put all your power in that man. You put all your power in that man. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't do that, because when you do that, now you're literally at his mercy. Right. And even with the condoms, and we know that stealthing is a thing. They can bring the condoms to the party, pretend like they put it on, and it's not there. And they just slide in. And unfortunately, that's happened to me before. Yeah. And it's very scary. And like, I remember one time, and it's happened multiple times. And sometimes I'm able to like check them right away. Well, every time I check them right away. But there was one time I was so emotional about it because I'm like, I'm sleeping with multiple people in my life as a poly person. And you are a new partner and I didn't know your status. You didn't give me a conclusive answer. So I said, let's use condoms. And you did that. I was crying. I was crying because I was just like, how did you do this to me? And
such a violation.
And luckily, like this person was a good person to where they went and they got a rapid test done the very next day and they showed me their results. And I was like, thank you for respecting me and my boundaries and my body. Because we had to talk about it right there. And it was the first time something had happened like that with this person. But also I will say, like, sometimes in the heat of the moment, things get switched. And also, sex in the dark, y'all, sex in the dark is actually dangerous. Like, look, I need y'all to have on a little nightlight, a candle, a little LED lights, something. Because you can't see if you're putting the condom on right. Because you can roll it backwards and it's not gonna fit. Mm-hmm. Right. And that might just be the excuse of like, oh, this condom isn't working. And then you might try it a few times and then you use all your condoms because you put them on wrong, right? So now you don't have any protection. And
don't need y'all to know how to put on a condom. Men and women know how to put on the condom.
And don't just bring one condom to the party. Bring like 5. If you have multiple sizes, bring 3 of each so you have 6 condoms at your disposal because you might be going rounds or condom might dry out over time and you want to switch the condom out. Like you might try the regular size and the regular size is a little snug. So you got to go up in the size. Like just bring extra condoms so that way you don't run into any issues where it's not going to be used. Okay.
Right. Absolutely. Because don't nobody want to be disappointed like that.
So I want to ask you this because we've been on here chatting for a while and I ain't trying to hold up your whole day. I do want to ask you, like, for women who are going into male dominated spaces like yourself, what advice would you give to other women who want to start businesses inside of industries where women are typically not seen?
I mean, there's still so many of them left, so many male dominated industries. My brand and just me as a person, I am all about confidence and self-love, believe in yourself. If they don't want to have a chair at the table for you, bring your own, unfold that mofo, or plop a thigh right there on the table. Like, yes, because somebody has to do it. It always has to start with somebody. So why not you?
Yes.
Why not? Like, I love the fact that you are a disruptor. I want more of us.
Yes.
So yeah, just do it. If you're scared, do it scared.
Do it scared. You have to do it scared because I'm telling you, the one thing I tell myself is like, no one's coming to save me. No one's coming to save me. And if I have an idea and if it's strong in me, then I need to move forward because there is someone in the world that needs whatever it is that I have. And like, I've been doing this work for 12 years. And when I tell you, I've been called every name in the book other than a child of God.
Right.
Okay. And all because I'm a woman who chooses to be loud and bold and vocal about sexual health and sexual pleasure. And that's the part that I think bothers some people is the fact that I am an advocate for sexual pleasure.
Yes, how dare you?
How dare you, beautiful, big Black woman? How dare you be so bold and bodacious about your body and about your pleasure? How dare you talk about your orgasms and how dare you encourage other women to do the same? Like, what?
I love it.
Like, But I'm super excited for the future of Indulgere. I know that there is so much more to come. And so just let the people know where they can find you online as far as where to shop and then where they can find you online to socialize with you.
Absolutely. So we are online. Our website is indulgere.co, indulgere.co. You can also find us on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. I'm trying to get this TikTok thing
Girl,
down. They're so strict about everything. So
I'm shook about TikTok. I don't know what I want to do over there. I don't.
yeah, but we have shops connected to our social media platforms. So yeah, just there's blogs, you can reach out. You have any questions? We've been taking questions from followers and community members that they seem to just things like the stealth thing and the milk protein. So yeah, just reach out on any of those platforms. We'd love to hear from you. And I am so, so grateful for you, Tayomi, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you and your audience. It's a movement.
Let's go. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Y'all know where to find her online, indulgere.co. Do not forget that this is discreet shipping, so you can get these straight to your mailbox. It's a plain like cardboard box, but when you open it up, it's so beautiful. The packaging is amazing. Like I said, you get that little baggie. It's the bag for me. So it was a pleasure talking to you, Loyal. And please make sure y'all follow her everywhere on Instagram and on Twitter. Peace out, y'all.